Alrighty, welcome back everybody. Just a couple of weeks ago, I'm filming this a little bit later now. That was the CSS, or critical swim speed test, that I did in the video. I also threw up a couple of other pieces of footage from a more recent swim that I did this week. Let's take a look here. I'm just gonna scroll back just so I make sure I have the numbers on hand. Here we go. So I did the 400-200 test, which is the 400 yards and 200 yards. I did the 400 in 5 minutes and 28 seconds. So that was a 122 minute per 100 yard pace. And I did the 200. I had like a 500 yard easy in between the 400 and the 200, like super easy. I did the 200 in 2:31. So I had like a 115 minute per 100 yard pace, which is a significant jump over my previous test result. The previous 200 that I actually did the 200-100 previously. That was the last test I did. I haven't done the 400-200 until I just did it a couple weeks ago. I did the 200 previously at a 2:54. Nope, sorry. I read the wrong thing. That was back in August. I did a 15-second difference in 3 months. That's not right at all. That's terrible math. 5 months. 15-second difference in the 200 in 5 months. I honestly don't even think that the number is pretty impressive. It's a pretty impressive jump, but what's I think more impressive for me personally is how much easier it felt to get to that number. Like before, just with regular training, this isn't just for testing. Obviously in tests, I'm going to put out as much effort as possible, of course, but it feels easier and easier now to get to be swimming faster. Partially that is due to the tips that I'm going to talk about. And I want to talk a little bit about how I've been able to improve my swim so much, because over the past couple of months, I've went from swimming an average pace of around 2 minutes per 100 yards to now I'm swimming on average mid to low 120s, which is almost a 40-second difference per 100. So I've nearly doubled my speed. It's kind of crazy to me how I've been able to do that. But I've got a couple of things that I wrote down here that kind of describe how I was able to get so much quicker on the swim. I want to go through a couple of different points for how I was able to improve my swim so drastically over the past couple of months, because I think I've made leaps and bounds of gains on the swim. And I think that with that development and with that training, all this training that I've done, I feel like I have a little bit of knowledge and insight on how I was able to improve so much. This is not right. Move this closer. Hopefully that's the last of technical difficulties. Anyway, I got 8 different points that I wrote down here. I'll probably also throw in a little bit more, just like on the side of my own knowledge, my own little bits and pieces that I throw in. The first thing though, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I'm not gonna drag people on and make them wait till the end to hear this. By far, it's the most important factor for improving your swim, improving your pace on your swim, by far, consistency. It really is honestly that simple. If you show up, if you just constantly, you're showing up, you keep putting in more and more effort, I promise you, you will make gains in any aspect of life, whether that be running a business, getting better grades in school, improving on the swim, bike, run, strength training, athletics, anything, literally anything. Consistency. compounds. It honestly is that simple. That's the first thing. I'm just going to get that straight out of the way. There has obviously been other supplementary training that I've done, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But consistency with getting in the pool, I do 3 days a week with my triathlon training. Consistently showing up has led to me improving drastically. If I didn't show up 3 days a week, if I only showed up 2 times a week, or if I missed a couple of days, or I got lazy, didn't want to do it, I would not have improved so much. And believe me, the first couple of months I hated, and it sucked because I was slow. I mean, 2 minutes per 100 was pretty slow. And I felt gassed at the end of doing 50 yards. Now I'm easily able to do longer distances, and I feel much better. I feel smoother in the water, and I'll explain a little bit more of this later on. But consistency is by far the number one thing that has helped me improve. 3 days of training. I've got a couple of other supplementary training things, and you know what? We'll get into that right now. Some of the other supplementary training is the Zen 8 trainer. I'll throw up a picture of it or a video. But it's basically like a set of resistance bands, and you're elevated on like a kind of like a blown up Bosu ball, but it's not really a Bosu ball. It's more flat, and it helps you with getting a better catch. That's a good one. The Erg Concept 2 rower. That's another really good one with rowing, because the pool that I go to is closed quite frequently, pretty much for any holiday. Whenever they can close it, they do close it. So using the Erg Concept 2 rower and getting in some type of work relatively similar-ish to swimming, that definitely helped. And then also strength training. That's a big one. Your back, arms, so triceps, biceps. Triceps probably more, I would say, because of the pushing motion. Because when you're going through the water, you're pulling through here, and then you're pushing back the water like that. So I would probably say the triceps a bit more than the biceps. And also chest, and of course, shoulders. Those are a couple of areas with strength training that have definitely helped me with my swim. I can't exactly pinpoint down, like of that supplementary training, what has helped the most. Look, I can't point that down directly to one thing. You know, I haven't done like a formalized study on it and analyzed which exact training methodologies have helped to improve the most with swimming. I can't pinpoint that down. Those are the things that I do, and it's definitely things that I've not only felt help me improve my swimming, but have definitely helped numbers-wise as well. Second thing, this is a little bit more swim specific now, technique. Your technique matters the most. The first couple of months when I started doing swimming, which was back in late January of 25, last year, your technique is so important. When I first started out, I was just trying to power through it. And even still now, I'm trying to power through it as much as possible. But you really can't power your way through bad technique. You can to an extent, but it severely hinders your speed by a lot. And with technique, you got to focus on your kick, which is something that I still need to focus on right now. My kick sucks. You need to focus on your kick. You need to focus on your catch. Obviously, that's a very big important factor. Breathing and your head position. Those are the 4 that I highlighted down on my notes here. Those are the 4 that I would probably say are the most critical to refining your technique. Maybe I'll do in another video if I ever get like the chance to just have like a full lane open to myself, or if I have the ability to be just one-on-one with the camera swimming somewhere. I'll definitely go more in depth with what I do, how to improve your technique. Next up, I wrote this down here, and now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, I'm 50-50 on it, and I'll explain a little bit more. Changing your breathing from every 2 strokes to every 3. Now, part of me wants to say that I'll explain first why this is a good thing. It's a good thing because when you go from 2 to 3, okay, when you're doing every 3, you're breathing, once to your right, you do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're turning each side, right? You're able to do breathing on your right and on your left, which helps balance your body position in the water. So when you go and turn to breathe, your body twists, right, naturally. So if you keep doing to one side, you're going to be unbalanced and you're going to be like crooked off to the side, which kind of slows you down. So instead, by breathing every 3, you're able to go from here, you go to here, and it sort of balances out. You sort of feel it. You definitely feel it in the water. So that's the kind of benefit, the positive of why you would do that. But I'm going to highlight now the negative of why you might not want to do that. And it's different for everybody. So this is kind of a subjective thing rather than an objective claim. Breathing is really going to be based off of how much air you feel like you have. So I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by this. When you breathe if you feel like you're out of breath going into that third stroke, or you feel like you're going to lose, it's kind of the, I don't remember the name of it. You feel like you're gasping for air, and you feel like you're drowning. That's obviously not something that you want to happen. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. So that's a little bit of why we do with training. And this is kind of a side tangent topic here with doing hypoxic work, which is basically just longer distances with less breathing, less breaths. So like I'll do hypoxic 5s, hypoxic 7s, and hypoxic 9s, which is basically 5 strokes and then you take a breath. 7 strokes, you take a breath. 9 strokes, you take a breath. It helps to kind of build that up a little bit, and it builds your confidence in it because it's different based on everyone's lungs. So for me, 3 feels very comfortable. I've gotten into a rhythm with that now. Before, it used to feel like crap, but I've kind of adapted to it, partially because when I try to breathe over to my right, I would always just take in a nice big gulp of water rather than breathe. You learn it over time. You just keep progressively building towards it. Ideally, you want to be at an odd number so that you're able to have balance and you're able to be able to breathe to both sides for balance. That's with training. Races, I do actually tend to go and breathe on an even number, so either 2 or 4 with races, sort of for 2 reasons. One, because I usually try to go to one side or the other of the pack of swimmers so that I'm able to consistently get a breath in without being uninterrupted with waves. Granted, you're going to have waves either way if it's a big race and there's a lot of people. So having that ability to breathe to both sides is very important. And it balance-wise, that's helped me speed up my swim, but being uneven as well and being able to just consistently breathe correctly onto one side or the other, that definitely helps with more confidence in your swimming, which can lead to faster paces as well. Next up, mix of easy base training and really hard efforts. At least at the bare minimum, once a week. And now it's at like at least 2 times a week. I do like a really hard swim session. Typically I swim on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's usually how it goes, unless there's like an interruption, like say a holiday or whatever. I tend to do on the Monday, because I have such a hard training block on the weekend, or such a long training block on the weekend, that Monday swim tends to be easier. Sometimes it's harder, depends on the week. That's just scheduling through my coach. Shout out to you, Christian. But typically my harder efforts are going to be on the Wednesdays and Fridays. My harder swims are going to be on the Wednesdays and Fridays. And then on Mondays, I'll have a little bit of easier training. And that's really good for building up. You want to get your easy training in for refining your technique. So like I have, let's look it up real quick. I have, for example, on Monday, I usually do like an easy pull session. So where I really can focus on technique. Yeah, so here on Monday, I had tech kick and rotation. So that was just a bit more technique refinement, specifically with the kick for me. That was the focus of the workout on Monday. Mixing in that easy work and then mixing in the harder training. Harder training, I focus less on my technique. Obviously, I want to take what I learned from my easier swims and translate that into my harder training sessions by keeping that same technique. Sometimes I compromise on it a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's all right. But that's really for VO2 max work. That's really for threshold, for pushing it and putting out max effort, testing what that speed is, going all out, and finding a new base that you can set at. You set yourself a new standard in the harder sessions, and then you go into the easy sessions, you focus on your technique, but you also try to still hold that standard by keeping a similar-ish pace. Obviously, you're going to be slower on your easy days. That should be the case. Mixing in some sprint and speed work to test yourself and set new standards for increasing your base speed. Next up, I'm going to throw this in here. I didn't have it written down. Progressive overload. It kind of bounces off of what I just said in the last tip. You want to try and progressively just increase a little bit. Even if it's, let's say that you do 4 sets of 100 and you usually do that at a 145 for each 100, do the last set at a 144. Just 1 second difference. Always strive for just a little bit extra progress. Just consistently striving to get better, just a little bit faster. You refine your technique a little bit more. Maybe that's putting out a little bit more effort. Maybe that's refining your technique. That's where the most gain is coming from. Your progressive overload and your consistency. That's a little side note there. Next up, number 5 here that I have, proper structuring of workouts to allow for adequate recovery and spacing between your workouts. Kind of self-explanatory. It's kind of also what I said in the last tip there, how I space it out. I have my Mondays being my easier swims and then my Wednesdays and Fridays being a little bit harder. Again, that also with triathlon, it is a little bit different because I also have to mix in my running and my biking, and I also do strength work on top of all of that. So having good spacing and not taxing the muscles that are going to be required for swimming. So for example, shoulders, chest, triceps, you don't want to hit a super hard push session or a push strength session right before a swim, because then that's going to fatigue your arms. And then when you go into the swim, you're going to be fatigued and not put out as much as you might expect. Should be self-explanatory there. But anyway, number 6, this is more with technique focus now. Keeping a high elbow. I think that's the number one thing that helped me improve my swim is when I go in and catch entry here, typically what happens is when your arm is in the water, you tend to sink down, and then pull through. My arm's going out of shot there, but you want to keep that elbow as high as possible. Now that's what the Zen 8 trainer really helps me with keeping my elbow up as high as possible. Obviously, when I try to then apply it into the actual swim, it does suffer a little bit. I do see that my elbow drops, and I think actually in the video that I took when I did my swim, which was yesterday morning, I could see that my elbow was still low, still dropping down. But yeah, keeping a high elbow allows you to catch and pull more water. So as you're pulling through here, you're moving more water, you're putting more strain on the shoulders, but you're putting out more effort to move yourself forward. Here's a couple of other pointers that I'll say. Smooth is fast, and fast is calm. What do I mean by this? You are faster when you are not trying to fight the water. When you are smooth and you just do each stroke, you're going through, you pull through, you're not trying to fight the water and you're not having a brawl with it. You really want to focus on being super smooth with your stroke and also super smooth just through the water. Swimming is about efficiency, and it's not really as much about effort. Yes, it is about effort. Of course it is. It always will be. But technique takes precedence over everything for swimming, for sure. None of these tips here I can say with other than consistency with 100% certainty will improve your personal technique or your personal times for swimming. But if you apply these tips that I have displayed today with consistency, combine them all together, and do it consistently, you'll see massive jumps. You'll see massive improvements. I feel like this video, I've kind of fallen off here a little bit, and I'm kind of just like rambling on. I don't feel like I'm super concise, but hopefully you're able to take away something from this. Obviously, the number one thing is consistency, but I've talked about that quite a bit. Refining your technique and mixing in easy training and hard training. Those are going to be the two that I would say are the most important. There are plenty of videos online about how to refine your technique, how to get a better kick, like a 2-beat kick. Like a 2-beat kick, if you look that up, getting a high catch, so high elbow in your catch. Breathing, I would say try and practice breathing every 3 and be comfortable with breathing on both sides, because if you're in a race, you don't know which side you're going to be able to breathe on more easily because of waves and people around you. So I'd say be comfortable with breathing on both sides. And head position, again, that's another thing that I need to work on as well. My head position. I have my head, I'm like this right now in the water, and I ideally like to be like exactly parallel. I'm probably at like a 20% angle, maybe not 20, but I'm at a bit of an angle, and it's kind of obvious in my swimming, and I kind of feel it. So ideally, I'd want my head to be a little bit lower, and in order to get my head a little bit lower, I'd also like to improve my kick and keep my legs up a little bit higher, because it's just like a flat plane like that. Think of it as if your body is like a wooden plank going through the water. Now, right now I'm going along like this, and ideally you want to be going straight. That's kind of how I think about it, and that's kind of how I try to correct it. I always kind of go back to that reference and think about it, how my body position really should be in the water compared to how it actually is. And then, you focus on refining your technique. I would say, that's the other thing I wanted to mention, actually. This will get shuffled around probably, but I really want to mention this. There are so many aspects of your technique that you can be refining. You should really focus on one of them. Pick one out. If your swim is a complete train wreck, right, and your head position is terrible, you're not kicking enough, or your legs are sinking, your breathing is off, your catch is, your elbow is dropping down, sinking elbow, sinking hips, sinking legs, everything like that. It could all be going wrong, but pinpoint one area and focus on that. Because if you try to focus on refining all of them at once, you're just going to get caught up in yourself. You're going to just get irritated. You're going to get mad, and you're going to kind of lose confidence in being able to refine your technique. It takes a long time. I've only been swimming for a year now, and I've been able to improve from a 2 minute per 100 to a 125 per 100. It's hard. It is not easy, and I have a lot more work to do. There are so many other aspects of my swim that I know I can still improve, and that I know I need to improve. That was my little piece at the end there that I wanted to mention. Hopefully you're able to pick something out of this, out of my conundrum of speaking. I'm trying to get a little bit better with this. But yeah, hopefully you were able to take something away. Hopefully you're able to improve your swim for your next race or for your next CSS test. But as I say at the end of every video, train hard, train frequently, find results. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
When did we make it so cold? The air is too thick to breathe. I wonder when you're coming home at 4:05. Just where have you been?